Hey folks, Papa Boris here, playing some more altered trading card game. We're back around the horn. I'm skipping Axiom, sorry Axiom, and we're gonna go on to Bravos, which I do think might be like the easiest one of the ones that are good to do well with, simply because it just has, you know, a lot of good stats. Not to say this deck doesn't have some tricks up its sleeve. Okay, we're gonna have to F5 to get the hero to stop floating there. Not to say the hero doesn't have some tricks up its sleeve, but it's just got a lot of good stat creatures and really good effects. Okay, so this I'm not a huge fan of. A 4/4/5 for 4 is not that great. It's not like overstated or anything, so we're gonna get rid of that. I don't think I need 2 of these, so we'll get rid of one of them. And alright, now this is always where the tough part comes in, because I definitely like the Sabotage. That is just a really good effect. And I'm a big fan of Sun Wukong, especially the rare one, who loses fleeting, and you can just keep on pounding out a 4/6/4. Granted, is it really that? I mean, if I'm not crazy about a 4/4/5, why am I crazy about a 4/6/4? Oh, because it costs 3 the first time, maybe. All right. God, it feels bad to get rid of a 4/2/4, 2/4 stats for 3 mana. Either I get rid of the Sabotage or I get rid of the 1-drop. So what am I doing on turn 2? Hopefully playing Sabotage in a 1-drop, right? Ugh. Alright, we're gonna get rid of both the warriors. I have deep misgivings about it. But okay, so what we're gonna do here is hopefully my opponent plays something in the blank lane for all their mana. We play Mr. Wukong here with the 4 desert stat and beat the token. Okay, it's a little scary because, you know, they might have something for 1. I don't think they can do anything with 1, so we're just going to do this. We hopefully each take a lane. I get a slight advantage from the fact that this is not anything special in the reserve, and I have the token next time. My free 2/2/2. Of course, my opponent's always going to have a free 1/1/1, but maybe next time I can get a couple of moves. Probably not, because I'm playing this and this, which is just understated. I might not even want to play this, because I don't actually care that much about sabotaging this thing, right? Like what do I care about this? You probably want to wait until you can sabotage something better, if you have a reasonable alternative play, which I do. I got Mr. Wukong here, the 4/6/4, who doesn't have fleeting. I'll be playing that in the lane opposite my hero. Okay, so with the physical training, what is this? Oh, okay, so it costs 1 extra, but it draws a card. I actually would just rather not draw a card and have it cost 1 less. Ortis, I can't remember if they have the Off You Go spell, which gets rid of a card with a hand cost of 3 or more, or sorry, 3 or less. I don't remember if Ortis has it. I feel like Bravos and Ysmir have it. Could be wrong. All right, anyways, I think since my opponent didn't put anything juicy in here to sabotage, we're just going to drop Wukong over here. So we'll each move again. My opponent will play something here, beat my token, and we'll all move. I am guessing. So I'm not like coming up to a roaring start or anything, but I am hoping that we get a really good hit with this bouncer. Ooh, interesting. So my opponent, since I'm not in desert, which is my strongest stat, elected to block me here. My opponent isn't moving, but neither am I, and I'm guessing now with their 2 mana, they're going to beat a 2/2/2, and then they'll move and I don't. So I will be Bravos shamefully falling behind against Ortis. Oh, interesting. So my opponent's just blocking me here as well. I'm actually completely fine with this because I believe I get card advantage here as nobody moves, since Mr. Wukong goes back to the reserve. Yeah, I got 3 cards to my opponent's 2. It's fine. I guess I'll take it. Normally the thing with Ortis is, you know, that it falls behind early and catches up late, but my opponent didn't draw or didn't choose to play their landmarks, so we're just like kind of on equal footing. 4 cost or less to hand. I mean, you really just fall behind on cards with this. And Ortis is going to be going wide with tokens. There is that Kakoba, but I'd rather hit Kakoba with Off You Go, which I believe this deck has, though. Now, of course, I'm not 100% sure. I'm probably just going to get rid of this. Oh, what am I talking about? I'm an idiot. I should have kept that. That was really stupid. Because of course I'm gonna want to use that to get rid of the landmarks that Ortis plays. Oops. Okay. Well, that was very dumb. I should have definitely done it to kept it to get rid of the landmarks, the expensive landmarks. Okay, my opponent's playing this, which is overstated because it's the rare version. Do I play Mr. Wukong here? I think not. I think we're just gonna probably not play Mr. Wukong at all. I could play this. What does that do? Well, it doesn't stop my opponent from moving because they'll move off of forest, and I have no forest. What I could do is I could play the Pathfinder here to put 3 water ups, make it harder for them to move. And then Mr. Wukong is threatening to win here, even though forest and water are his weak stats. I mean, he still beats a 2. Yeah, we'll try it this way. So I could have sabotaged this, and this is actually a decent card, especially because it has the correct stats to go here against my forest and water. We'll see if my opponent has anything to play from hand that costs 2 or less to keep this kind of in reserve. I don't want to play anything from hand at this point because it would fill up my reserve. So yeah, I kind of want to see if my opponent has the mana left to play the Frog Prince. I could try to steal this lane with Mr. Wukong. Alright, he's playing Joan of Arc. So that is actually a very smart play because it means I cannot win this lane with Wukong. Since tragically I'm in the space that is everything but desert, and this 5 water means that Wukong isn't stopping it. Shoot, this is a problem. So nothing really does anything. I could play Rat just to have it in reserve, but that would fill up my reserve. Oh dear. Okay, we're gonna pass. So now I'm a little bit concerned because my opponent is gonna have a bunch of tokens out, which means they could pull off a big charge. The plus side is that Joan goes into the reserve and I'm first next turn, so next turn I probably am gonna play this Haven Bouncer and kick Joan out of the reserve. I also have my token next turn, but my opponent has 3 tokens next turn, so it's not, it's a very weird game here. I am playing the card advantage game. My opponent's throwing a card away now, so I am ahead on cards, but I'm actually not ahead on the board. I'm not behind at the moment either, but it's awkward because this freaking, these spaces, both of them coming out of the entry point, are not desert, so Wukong is not super effective. If I could have just snuck in here, the desert space, he would have been incredible. But alas. Alright, we've got this thing, which is overstated, but fleeting. I'm just going to pass it. So now I want to play the Haven Bouncer and get rid of Joan. So I don't want Joan coming back. And I guess what I'm going to do is just split it, so I'm tying his tokens. I could get rid of the frog. I mean, I could keep Joan. I could be like, yeah, why don't you go ahead and play a 2/2 for 4? Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the frog. Make it hard for my opponent to counter this lane without playing a card from hand. So this basically forces my opponent to play from hand, because if they play Joan first, they're only going to have 2 mana left, and they're not going to be able to do much. I want to see what they're hiding in their hand. And if it's more than 2 mana, they won't be able to play Joan, which means that they will have to then play something else from their hand, and their reserve will fill up. So I will get ahead further on card advantage. Now I have a decent play here, Mr. Forest, only 2 mana. Can go here and provide 3 forest. And then I have this rat as well that I can play alongside him. Now that does mean then that my reserve will fill up. So I probably would rather play the Pathfinder to use the water to try to move here. And then if I play rat, my reserve still fills up because of Mr. Wukong. Alright, my opponent played Fancy Joan, so 2 recruits of each type. Okie dokie. So now I can finally move here. Strange move, by the way. Unless my opponent has a 1-drop waiting in hand, because if my opponent played here, they'd be threatening to win this. Now I'm already winning here, and I can play something here and win it. It doesn't matter if I use the Pathfinder or Mr. Wukong for me moving, but I guess I should use Wukong because... Oh, right, because he costs 4. I can't play him. Okay, so this might be the time for physical training. Just because it's 3 of everything. It blocks my opponent. It moves me. Mr. Forest, with his crappy water, doesn't stop the... Yeah, all right, we're going to do physical training. And it's a sad situation with my reserve. Very sad indeed. I might just throw this away, though, because a 3-3 for 3 is not that impressive. And then I have to throw something else away as well. Definitely not going to play the rat. But I am moving twice, so I guess it's okay. It's a little sad that my opponent's got these 2 Jones here, but now that my opponent let me move twice and is so far behind on cards, it might be a little scary for them to just kind of go for it. Okay, so 3-3 for 3 is not impressive. 3-3 for 3, not impressive. Okay, we're going to get rid of those. Mr. Wukong, ready to do business here in this desert. I might be able to move even if I can't stop my opponent from moving. All right, we have an easy choice here. I don't want to have another 4-drop. That is also not that impressive stat-wise, so we're going to be mana-ing this. So this turn I can play Wukong and Rat and Pathfinder. And we're going to throw this away for mana. Pathfinder's really good here because it's desert. Granted, it doesn't stop my opponent from moving. Over here, it also helps me move, and the forest is... it's actually better to play it here because my opponent doesn't move on forest. So forest doesn't matter as much here. I could just maybe pile drive this lane and try to move. All right, we got Kokoba. Never mind, never mind. All right, so Kokoba going in, and my opponent can still play a Joan. This is where I wish I had one of those sabotages to get this Joan out of here. But on the other hand, that's very few stats, so my opponent would be letting me move. Okay, if this card is also a Kokoba, that would be sort of sad, but I think here we're just going to play the Pathfinder here and see what my opponent wants to do. Because Wukong plus Rat provides... Now, so my opponent decided to play Joan, so my opponent's hoping, I guess, is that I can't produce 4 Forest to block them, but I can. So I will. We're going to play Wukong, and we have 1 mana left over for this extremely crucial Rat to stop my opponent from moving here to either forest. So now my opponent and I each move once. My opponent gets 2 more tokens out, but I have the token next turn, and I'm 2 spaces ahead. Also, my opponent is a little low on the cards. They do have some really strong stuff here. Kokoba's very strong, and then Joan, of course. But at this point, playing 2/2/2 for 5 when I'm this close to winning is going to be difficult. It's the Kokoba that's more worrying because my opponent might... Like, if I'm first, it might be difficult for me to wait out the mana for my opponent to play Kokoba. Because I basically just don't want to play in the lane where he's dropping 5 stats for 3 mana. Now this, I don't think I'm going to use because I don't think my opponent's going to have anything. I don't remember what Ortis has, but I'm just going to hope that it's not anything significant. And so we got this, which is relevant. It's 2 water for 1 mana. The main issue, of course, is I don't know where Kokoba is going. And it's hard for me to stall. But I'll try, and I'll just make an obvious move. We'll play from hand, because it's cheap. We'll play Pathfinder here. It's not stopping my opponent from moving, but I'm fine. I just want to threaten to move myself, and it matches my own stats. And then I just kind of want to see where my opponent's going to go. They have Kokoba, which they don't want to play, because they know that wherever they play Kokoba, I'm just going to play the opposite lane. And then they have Joan that they don't want to play because if they play Joan, they lose. Okay, so now they're left with 3. They played the MVP Ridiculous Landmark, but right now all it's doing is giving their starting token a boost, which is not a huge... Well, okay, that and everything they play, I guess, gets a boost. So this is, gigantic, but we'll just play, wherever this doesn't. So what I think I'm going to do is spend... Let me see, how much mana? If I play the Rat, I can't play Wukong. But that's okay. I think what I'll do is I'll just put the Rat here. So I'm going to widen my lead here. And hope that my opponent just Kokoba's here. And then I can pass. Because I'm winning over here. On the other hand, if my opponent goes here, I have enough stats from the rat to make up for the 0 on my Pathfinder that I'm actually still stopping these 2 tokens from moving in their forest zone. Okay, so my opponent played Kokoba, they were just totally fine. So now... Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I can actually overcome this, right? Or can I? Oh my god. Yes, just barely though. Because I can't play Wukong because he costs 4, and this thing produces big forest, but I'm not in forest. Luckily, I got this thing, which I can play right here for the water and sneak it through. Granted, my opponent left me with 3 mana, and all I had to do was produce 2 stats. So it was actually, you know, remarkable that I was as close as I was to not being able to do it. But now I move twice and I win before my opponent goes off with this monolith. I think my opponent may have missed some opportunities because leaving this the way it was seemed a little bit strange, but then again, maybe they just didn't have options. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.